Get ready to dive into the rhythmic realm of the Drumheads podcast, where beats meet banter. Whether you're a drummer or just love a good music story, Drumheads is your backstage pass to the world of drumming and all things in between. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and please remember to subscribe. And now here's the show.
Not a bad thing. So, usually what I do is just I fade in just already talking, and I'm already recording, so we're good there. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and start being the official podcast host. Yeah, dude, you just got home from some shows. How'd that go?
It was fun, man. It was weird to go from I haven't played a lot. I did a show. We did a tour that ended in, I think, August last year. And then I did one show with my other original band the last year in October. And then I did one with another buddy, Jay Corsi Willis, who's fucking awesome. Both those bands are awesome. In January. So my first show back since January was Rockville, that big festival in Daytona, to like 90,000 people. So it was like,
oh wow,
yeah, 0 to like, oh my god. Luckily we had a couple days of rehearsal before that, but
yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah, it was a little much to go like straight from 0 to that, you know. And we had just switched from fucking we just stopped using amps, and everyone started using, like, the singer Kevin still uses monitors, but everyone in the band is now on in-ears. I've always been like that, but it was a weird show to like.
How'd it go?
Oh,
did it work out?
Yeah, it was fine. You know, it was like, I'm sure we didn't look or feel as comfortable as we would have been if it was like the 10th show in a row using new gear, but like, yeah, it was good for what it was. It was great. And then
how rusty did you feel going out there?
How rested?
Rusty.
No, it's pretty good. I do a thing whenever we're gonna do like power sets like that. That was 35 minutes. I'll go out in my garage and I'll turn the heat on, and I'll play the set over and over again in like 90-degree heat in there. So I kind of condition myself for like the worst case. Oh, did you have to? Those shows I just die because I'm not like a fucking punk rock drummer. You know, I play a lot of hard rock stuff, but like when I get on a stage like that, I just go into kill mode. And if I'm not ready to be in kill mode, I just die. Fucking cramps and shit. Yeah.
How hot was it when you guys were playing?
It was
95 degrees. You play during the day?
Yeah, we played like midday. It was 95 degrees. Hot as shit.
Yeah, and where did you play? What'd you say, Daytona? That's humidity central, man.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. It was cool though. I mean, we were inside Daytona in the infield, and like to get around it, we used the track. So we were on the Daytona Speedway with golf carts. It was pretty sweet.
I'm sure shenanigans occurred.
No, not there. They were there. I kept trying to get people to like go up on the incline, you know, because it's fucking. Have you ever seen a NASCAR? Like
yeah.
It's steep as shit. Yeah. So like in a golf cart, we would have just tipped over. So that was pretty funny. But and everyone I asked and tried to get to do stupid stuff, they were like, "Man, I would in a heartbeat, but it would be the last day that I worked here." And I was like, "But would it be worth it?" Yeah,
really. Would there be a legend?
Yeah, right. So we did that one. That was Friday, and then Sunday we played this show in Ocean City, Maryland, where I'm from. I'm from Maryland, not Ocean City. But it was another huge festival. It was like 60,000 people, and that was awesome. We had a bunch of friends and family there. My mom came and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was sweet.
How were your parents supportive of you as a player growing up?
Yeah, my dad made me play the drums, which is why I started. Yeah, I started by playing guitar. You can see I have more guitars than drum sets.
Yeah,
and a musket. Long story there. He used to just fucking pick me up and like put me on the drums and make me cry and shit. It was semi-abusive.
Like a set or just a snare?
Yeah, he had this big Rogers kit. Actually, I got the throne from it somewhere around here. It was 2 bass drums. Yeah, he played in bands in the 70s. Okay.
Oh wow.
The drum set was huge. It was 2 double kick, 2 rack toms, 2 floor toms, fucking monster cymbals everywhere. And I started playing on that thing when I was younger, and my mom was super supportive. We had the standard punk rock in the basement kind of a thing. And that basement is basically how I left it, just demolished. All the insulations off the walls. There's still fucking spray paint on everything. Like, I still got a bunch of broken amps down there and drum parts and cymbals and shit.
Oh, really?
That's awesome, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever go into school, like play drumline or snare or anything, or was it just that kit?
No, I started in bands kind of right out of the gate. When I was like 16, no, less than 14, I started a band with my buddy Aaron called Valcor, which was almost Falcor because his dog looked like the luck dragon from the Neverending Story.
Yeah.
But we thought Falcor was kind of weak, so we put a V in the front of it and made it Valcor instead. And that was my first band at like 14. Wait, what was the question? I've got yesterday's questions in my head now.
That's all right. I asked you if you like went into doing snares and snare line or
Oh yeah, no man,
quads or anything.
I had no real formal training on anything. I just kind of punk rocked through. But I was in the jazz band in middle school, playing guitar. Actually, that's interesting because there was
I mean, that's no mean feat, though, Beej. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
No, I wasn't in. It was like playing like La Bamba and shit. It wasn't complicated yet. That's why I wasn't in the high school one. But that middle school teacher, I'm glad I just thought about this, was the first one who told me I had good time because I already played drums at that point. And we were just fucking around one day afterwards, and I started playing In Bloom on like the jazz band drum set in the jazz band, rehearsal area. And the teacher was like, I didn't know you played drums. And I was like, yeah, it's just something I do. Because I was like, I wanted to be a fucking guitar player, right? Real bad.
Yeah.
And but that compliment stuck with me, man. That was interesting. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
And you'd already had your independence down and all of that sort of stuff.
Yes, courtesy of Drain You. Do bat bat and do bat. It's like
yeah.
Bat, bat. I wasn't like, good. I was just like a, young, crazy punk rock drummer like we all were.
Yeah. Who were you listening to back then? Who do you think was influencing you?
Fucking Nirvana, Local H. I forgot, I just got this question yesterday and I forgot about Local H. Joe Daniels.
And I haven't heard that name in years.
Dude, fucking Joe Daniels is the best fucking rock drummer of the 90s. Dave Grohl's why I play music. Like that Nirvana was my core, right? But like when I got into Local H, I saw them live in 1997. I think that was my first concert was Yanni. My second concert was Local H at the 930 Club in 1997, where they were on the yeah, I know, Yanni's awesome.
Hey, let me tell you that he had a drummer that played with him. And I can't remember the guy's name, but there was that thing from the Acropolis in Greece. His drummer,
I think I saw that tour.
Man, that drummer he had, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a monster player. And I actually met him in Nashville at Summer NAMM one year. Super nice guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But yeah, that video, I went back and watched that video. I didn't care for his music, of course, but yeah.
Yanni crushes.
Yeah.
That's one of those bands though, like that's where like
Charlie Adams, that's who it was.
Oh, that's interesting. Anytime you get into like a world music situation, you're gonna have an incredible drummer. Like there's no way to be all the styles you gotta cover and all the weird shit you gotta play, Weird African finger drums and fucking some dude somewhere studied that,
Yeah, it's like the guy that plays with Peter Gabriel. Manu Katché is like that. Just plays incredible stuff. Yeah. And their independence is a whole nother level. When you see those sort of guys playing. So who took you to go see Yanni?
Oh, it was my dad. My stepmom was obsessed with Yanni, and yeah, I remember my core memory from that though was I bought Soundgarden. What record was it? Tricycle. They had some weird B-side, but I bought a Soundgarden shirt from the merch thing at the Yanni show. That's like my core memory from that.
You still have the shirt?
No, it's long gone. I remember I can fucking see it. I can feel it on my skin though. It's a visceral memory.
So who'd you see after Yanni? Who'd you say?
Local H. So I went to
Local H, that's what it was.
My first rock concert was Local H in 1997. And they were doing the As Good as Dead tour, and it was fucking incredible. like Scott Lucas and Joe Daniels at that point, they were like 25 years old now, their goddamn minds. That was like,
Yeah.
I mean, Joe broke drumsticks every snare hit. It was raining fucking Zildjian 5As the whole show, just everywhere. It was like, I mean, the guy was just a fucking powerhouse, and the parts were cool, and the songs were awesome. Yeah. It's funny, like, I just, like, skipped over that when I think about, like, what my core influences were, but that's fucking, like, half of it.
Was it a situation where you saw it and you were like, that's it? Like, that's who I want to be?
No, that was when I was, like, 12 years old. I was on the school bus, and my buddy Danny Rule, I remember this like it was yesterday, was like, man, you got to check this shit out, and gave me this cassette tape, and it was Nirvana Nevermind. And I got home, and I put it, and, at that point in my life, I was like a little, not a sports kid. I was just kind of like a little lost soul. I didn't really have a direction yet. I was playing sports and stuff, doing the regular, like, 12-year-old shit, little bowl cut, the whole thing. And when I hit play on that fucking cassette, by the time the chorus hit, like, my worldview had just changed. Like, I was already like a kind of an angry kid, and like my dad was a fucking drunk and like all that kind of shit, and it was weird. I was going through a lot of stuff, and I finally found this thing that like spoke my language, and it just my life was never the same. It just shot off like a rocket in a different direction.
Who were you listening to back then?
That was it. I didn't listen to anything. I was like, my dad would play like Beatles and stuff and Steely Dan and shit, and nothing ever resonated. And then I found Nevermind. And I listened to that tape until the tape stopped playing. I bought another one. I listened to that tape till that tape stopped playing. And I bought like 5 CDs of that. And like I just went through the whole Nirvana catalog. And I remember there was also that record because I learned, I figured out that I could like play songs, right? What was it? Polly on there. The acoustic track was just E, G, D, C. And like I learned those chords. And I was like, oh man, I can like learn a song. And I got obsessed with like learning songs. Yeah. But it was all Nevermind, man. That record just completely absorbed me.
Do you think that that being able to play, I started out, I was playing guitar also. I was a big Kiss freak. Wanted to be Ace Frehley, and then switched over to drums. But do you think that something like that, I think personally that my guitar lessons kind of put me more in a musical state of mind playing when I started playing drums. Do you think that helped you?
Oh, absolutely, man. I don't think about drums like most drummers. It's funny. I just described this yesterday. I can articulate better because of yesterday's conversation. Like I never thought about fitting notes in space like some guys do, it's like how far you can subdivide a thing. I was always thinking because I started off really musically as a songwriter, like a 16-year-old punk rock songwriter, but still writing songs and thinking about parts and thinking about the drums in like a reinforcement sort of a sense instead of a drums first kind of a thing. Yeah. So I was always more listening than I was playing. And that got out of whack a little later in life when I started to kind of get my shit together as a drummer. And then I started to like apply stupid things, but like I immediately learned and got yelled at by my bass player, Scott, to like tone shit down and like play to the tune again. But that's always been kind of baked in. I've always tried to write like musical parts if I can.
Do you use does that influence still follow you now from Nirvana? Like
dude, yeah.
Do you still think in that mind state, I guess?
I think the thing that I got, it's just you can sing. I think of great drummers as you can sing their parts. Like you can sing and bloom in your head right now. And the drum part is almost a melody inside of that, right? I mean, that's technically Chad Channing that wrote that, but like that's a thing that's like it's as much of a hook as the rest of it, right? So I'm always trying to like think of drums as a hook as opposed to like a I don't know, fraction or whatever good drummers think of things, Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day that plays drums also, and I told him, that drummers share several things, regardless of the genre that they play in, that we can describe a beat, like you just did with the doom plot, and it registers in our head because we immediately start visualizing it on a kit. We start thinking bass drum, snare, ride, dun, 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 dun. We immediately are thinking like that, sure. And along with the tinkering side of things, we love to tinker with stuff, and especially someone like you who does all that woodwork, which we'll get to. What was your first band was it a Nirvana love band, or what kind of band was it?
No, I think we were more local H influenced, actually. I was never really in a band that tried to do the Nirvana thing. I mean, it definitely showed up in a lot of writing, but like local H, man, it's fucking funny. This is a whole revelation for me, but like that was the thing. The first band, Valcor, with my buddy Aaron. Aaron was a tinkerer, or is a tinkerer too. I fucking love that guy. We're still friends to this day. And he did the local H guitar thing. He got a cheap guitar and he carved out a fucking hole. Didn't use a router, just like, hammered a thing in and put a bass pickup over the two strings and did the two output thing. So we had we basically emulated their rig where it was the bass and guitar in one instrument. So you could have a 2-piece band.
Yeah.
And it was really just around that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Taking you back down this is your life sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where'd you go from there? What did you continue doing that sort of thing, or was it what else came along?
I have always been into bands. Yeah. I mean, I was doing that. So all through high school, I was playing around here, local stuff, and some baby touring, going to Philly or, Virginia or, region, semi-regional shit. And then I went to a Full Sail down in Florida, which anybody who happens to come across this, don't fucking go to Full Sail. Just don't do it. Call me. I'll tell you what to do or where to go in life. Just don't do that. Yeah. And while I was down there, because that was I was looking for direction, right? Like playing was never, I wasn't like a virtuoso player, I was kind of like a middle of the road guy. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I wanted to get into engineering anyway, because I always liked the recording process and that whole thing. So I went down there and got a degree. And while I was there, I figured out that you could sign up for artist classes. Like the way that thing is structured, it's a 12-month course, right? It's super intense, but you don't actually get in the recording studio until month 11 and 12. And that's when you're actually in the thing. And I figured out kind of early on that you could sign up as an artist and be recorded by the students who were in month 11 and 12. And so I started putting bands together and doing stuff, or just going by myself and play everything. And I was being recorded and learning the recording stuff the whole year that I was there while doing the regular.
That's really smart.
I know, right? In hindsight, I was like, that was awesome. And that was awesome because I got so much more experience than everyone else in recording and hanging out with the teachers. And they had a lot of, guys who done super cool shit that were just good to hang out with. And,
yeah.
You could assess your performance based on their reaction. If I did something well, like a good double of something or whatever, they'd be like, oh, that was cool. I'd be like, oh, thank you. I'll remember that and use it in the future.
Yeah. I was in college. I started checking out. I was wanting to get back involved in music when I had some free time out of school. And I contacted a local, there's a local studio here called Airwave, and bands like Brother Kane came out of there, and there were some others that came around. But and it was when bands came in and they wanted to record, they would go to Airwave. So I tracked down the guy that was the engineer there, and I asked him about going to Full Sail, and he was like, "No, don't do it.
Don't do it."
He said, "Why don't you just start coming up here with me?" He said, "I'll show you everything you want to know." And that's what I did. I worked with him and ended up working on some really great projects. And he taught me a lot, saved me, $20,000 or however much Full Sail was at the time.
Still paying that loan.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks. So how did you just kind of continue that path? I'm trying to mark how you got to Candlebox. How did that work out?
Oh, that's coming right at the end of that story. So when I got home from Full Sail, I ended up doing 2 years there. I got my bachelor's in music business too, which never served any purpose. I'm still an idiot. I got out and I kind of had a crossroads. There's another little backstory there. My uncle was is a amazing drummer, and he was in a band called the Deanna Bogart Band. So when I was growing up, he joined that band when I was 8. I promise this ties in at the end of Full Sail. He got in that band when I was 8. So while I was listening to all this Nirvana and Local Age and all this hard rock shit, I was constantly going to jazz concerts where he was playing with this band. They were what do they call it? Bluesian. They were a blues fusion band, but they would just musically go anywhere. And that band was Deanna Bogart, Mike Goblin, my uncle, who's fucking incredible. Eric Scott and Cajun Kelly, they're all like local legends around here. And it was a fucking amazing band to watch because like Cajun was this like 80s style guitar player in a blues band. So it was like these incredible shredding guitar solos. And Eric was an incredible bass player. My uncle was just playing he's a jazz guy, but he's got like the rock thing too. So he was just playing all over the map. So I was like, while not learning that stuff, I was exposed to it a lot. Yeah. So I had this whole, it's not that I can I never studied jazz, never got into that thing, but my sense of one has always been really interesting because like I was exposed to all this off meter shit so often through those guys and all that brilliant playing they did that it just sort of permeated my brain. Anyway, so put that into the mix of whatever created whatever I am. And then, so I got it at Full Sail, right? And Cajun was doing some session work with this chick, Nikki Barr, out of Baltimore. And she was doing a lot of USO touring. That was 2006, 7, somewhere in there. And a lot of overseas stuff and just getting a lot of stuff done. And they needed a guitar player. So I ended up auditioning because Cajun got me on audition for that band. And it was funny because when I got at a Full Sail, I had sent letters out to a couple of audio production companies. And literally the same day, I got a letter of like, "Do you want to come interview for this company?" And I got a thing, "Do you want to audition for this band?" And I was like, I'm going to go audition for the band and go do this thing. So I went out there and auditioned on guitar. I got the job as a guitar player, backup singer, and keyboard player.
Where did the keys come from?
They just, I did keyboard in college a little bit. I just enough to do synth lines or whatever. Nothing good. Just, I'm just consistent. And there was this guy in that band called Island Styles, and he is the guitar player in Candlebox right now, along with Peter Klett. And Island and I became best friends fucking immediately. We started writing we had this whole side project thing. We just started recording together. And I was with Nicky's band for 10 years. And then Island went off and joined Jimmy's Chicken Shack. And wow. I can continue with Nicky. Yeah, I know. Fucking Jimmy's awesome. You should get Jimmy on here. Jimmy would be fucking great. So Island went off and did that, and we started a second band with Nicky called The Last Year, and that kind of kept going until 2018, and then that kind of fell apart and ended up in this kind of cover band situation right up until COVID. Meanwhile, Island joined Jimmy's Chicken Shack, did that thing for a while, and then he wound up guitar teching for Candlebox in 2013, something like that. And then a couple years later, they had a guitar slot open up, and he switched to guitar player in Candlebox. And so he was there, and the other guitar player in Candlebox at that time was this guy, Brian Quinn, who was my ex-girlfriend's cousin. So I had not one, but two friends in that band, all from the East Coast in a Seattle band. Makes sense of that. Yeah, man. So when COVID happened, I was doing 5 nights a week playing cover gigs, bar stuff, which was important for me musically because I did a lot of stuff. We had a band going where it was just 3 of us. It was a guitar player, a singer, and me playing drums and singing. And covering that much ground as a drummer, because there was nothing else, right? It was just me and the acoustic guitar. So I had to put all this thought into the reps and things and really kind of develop my style as a player inside of that. None of which I use now, but it's I just had this much more broader musical vocabulary because of that band, just because we could do whatever we wanted. It was just fucking chaos. But by the time COVID came around, I hated it. I hated my life. I hated everything. Everything was terrible. And when the gigs dried up, I was like, good. I don't want to play music anymore. Thank God it's over. Yeah, man, because you get on that freight train of cover gigs and it just keeps booking. It just books. You're booked right. Fucking, and you're either gonna pull the plug and quit a band and fuck over your friends, or you're gonna keep doing it forever. And it's a tough call to make. And a natural disaster helped me make it. And it made me really assess things. And I was like, you know what? I don't like doing this. I don't like where I'm at. I don't like what I'm playing. I don't like any of this stuff. So I just let it go away. And it was fantastic. And then, so,
dun, dun, dun.
Meanwhile, in Candlebox land, their drummer at that time, right going into COVID, was Dave Cruzen. He was the original drummer for Pearl Jam. And I don't know what happened, but he left the band right around COVID. So they were drummerless. And I started getting texts from Island. It was like, hey man, we want to do like, how everyone was doing like the COVID cover thing, like the split screen stuff. So I got the call to do a couple of those with Candlebox, and I was like, fucking awesome. So we did For What It's Worth, the Buffalo Springfield tune, and then we did Turn Me Loose back to back, and it was super cool. But I thought it was just like flash in the pan stuff, right? So like I did the thing, did the videos, and that was 2020. And then I knew I was kind of on the radar. I knew I was on the radar because I just done a thing like with them. And 2021 comes around, and before COVID, they had done a record called Wolves that they just recorded. But then COVID came, so they didn't drop it because you can't tour on something that you can't tour.
Right.
So it just kind of sat there for a couple of years. And in the fall of 2021, they went on tour for that. And I was getting texts from Island like, hey man, we don't have a drummer right now, but you just be ready. So he just gave me a playlist basically to learn, which I didn't because I'm stupid. And I was listening to it. I wasn't playing actively. I was doing woodshop stuff mostly. Yeah, so they went out and they had kind of a weird tour. It was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and then 6 weeks was the remainder of the tour. So as it got closer and closer and they're getting ready to go to rehearsals, I was like kind of getting nervous, like this might happen, and then it didn't. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm, not that I was like excited that it didn't happen, but it was a lot of pressure, to especially go from like COVID to like Candlebox was just fucking, it just seemed like a lot. And when I didn't get that phone call, I was a little relieved. So they go out and they've got a drummer with them, and I start getting texts from Island again. It's like, hey man, it's not going great with what's going on right now. So maybe you should get your shit together. Like get your shit together now. And again, I was like, because nobody gets that fucking phone call, right? Nobody gets like nobody gets the hero story where the national act calls and like, hey, we need a savior, come out and do the thing, So in my mind, it was impossible, and it got closer. And then, so they, like I said, they did the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and then the 6 week part of the tour, right? So I figured if I'm going to get that phone call based on what I'm getting right now, it's going to be in the break because that would fucking make sense, right? So the break comes, the break goes, they start touring again. And I'm like, okay. Again, I'm like not disappointed. I'm like, I don't know, man. I still don't know how I felt about that, but it was like this magical thing, and just had gone away again. And I was like, but that's okay. I'm just going to go back to work. So I went to the wood shop and I booked a bunch of work because now I knew I wasn't going to be gone for, 6 weeks or whatever. And I got a bunch of shit together. And I remember the day everything kind of fell together, I was having a very, very bad day. I had this big woodworking project where I was putting these stair treads into this bar in Fed Hill in Baltimore. And I made all these pieces of wood, and like the metal guy had fucked up, and like this guy had fucked up, and the guy working me had fucked something up, and everything was just getting fucked up, right? My life was shit. Like I had just fucking my world was basically collapsing around me. And just the COVID thing, man. Everyone at the end of COVID was just like, rah! Yeah. I was no exception. I was being a fucking asshole. I was being stupid. But I was just having a terrible, terrible day, and everything was kind of collapsing. I punched my car that day. I still have 2 little scars on my hand from where I punched my car because, rage. So I got home that night, and I started taking bong rip after bong rip after bong rip after bong rip. I was just trying to put my brain down, just one of those days. And I was having a lot of those in a row, man. It was just fucking, everything was just shit.
Yeah, it was hard I think it was a lot harder than people want to admit.
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. The fucking, the reset of the whole thing was just fucking, I don't know. Everyone, and you could see who was going to make it through clear and who wasn't, I dug in and I was doing good, but my surroundings were not digging in. So it was like, you're pulling twice the weight, it's fucking
right.
Sucks. Anyway, so that night I'm super fucking high. I'm in bed. My phone was turned over on my end table. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to you just impulsively check your phone again, right? And I got like 30 text messages from Island. Like, hey man, call me now. So I call him back, high as a fucking blimp. and Kevin, the singer, answers Island's phone. And I was like, hey man, what's going on? And Kevin's like, man, I should have called you for this tour. Fucking love your drumming. I'm sorry. Will you come out and be our drummer? And I was like, yeah, because I just booked all the pressure in the world had just been applied to me, and now this thing shows up, right? And I was like, dude, can I call you back? And he's like, yeah, I guess. I went over to the bathroom and I threw up for an hour, just violent, just it wasn't just like the stress of that. It was just I had, it's just funny. Doing 2 podcasts 2 days in a row has really made me like introspective about this in that moment. Like I didn't realize how fucked up everything was until I had an option to get away from it, and I almost said no because I was like, what am I like? What is this going to do? It's like it's just going to fuck up my world. It's going to fuck up my business, and all these doubts and thoughts about it that I guess I really hadn't thought about till right now.
Yeah, but I mean, you throwing up. I mean, I know everybody, people will be like, ooh, gross. But, man, you were purging all that shit. I mean, it's, people do it in different ways. I never actually got really sick like that. My thing is to get really bad headaches and go inwards, and don't talk to anybody. People handle things in different way. I mean, if you ever have any thought of like, God, this sucked. Why did I do that? You're human, man. I mean, you were, purging all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I was so fucking tired, like just everything was just heavy at that point. Yeah. And everything was just hard and just harder than it fucking needed to be. And I guess in that moment, it was like really, man, I almost said no. I almost called him back and said no. But I didn't. I called him back and I said, yes, obviously I'll do this because you can't, when the phone rings, you can't deny yourself that, And I was scared shitless. I was like, I think my whole thing's about to change. And I don't know. And I started to get excited about it instead of scared of it. So I dug in. I had 4 days to get ready too. That was on Thursday. The bus was coming Monday. And we had made plans that we'd rehearse in my wood shop, had a recording studio in it. So we decided to rehearse there on Monday for like 10 hours. And then the first show was Tuesday in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it was awesome. Actually, that was funny because when Kevin walked in there the first time, he was like, because it was fucking awesome. It was a badass wood shop in a cool, just punk rock recording studio just thrown together. And Kevin walked in and goes, man, this fucking looks like Seattle in the 90s. And I was like, I love you. This is going to work out. So we did this crazy rehearsal. And yeah, man, the next day I got on the bus and that was that.
Well, I mean, all you need for all of this to kind of wrap everything up would be to Morgan Freeman, voiceover saying, little did he know his life would change. So how's it been going since? I mean, are you guys recording new music? Are you feeling more comfortable now that you're in the gig and everything?
Yeah, man. Like we've done enough stuff now. Like I had to get over the like I had done really big shows before, but not like consistently. And like, it's a different thing when people are looking at you. Like they love those songs. Yeah. And they want to hear those songs. So like your job when you fill in one of these things is not only like put your stamp on it, but to like do justice to what's there. And it's funny. I was just talking to Scott Mercado the other day, the original drummer. And he said some nice things. And I was like, man, all I'm doing is trying to like do your notes justice. Because without what you played, like I don't exist. I just go back to cover bands in Baltimore, just trying to keep like what you did and like the origins of this thing as cool and intact as possible. But still like, there's a little bit of me in there now too, which is cool. But like getting over the big show thing, man, I was like, I had a lot of anxiety about that. Because we went out with, my first tour was mostly clubs. It was a headlining tour. And then we did one amphitheater in the middle of it. And it was like, one of those big metal festival things with like Rob Zombie and shit and Shine Down, a bunch of other guys. And we played a big fucking amphitheater and I was freaked out, but it was like my third show too. It was like,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I barely knew the tunes. I was just holding my shit together. I was reading Kevin, like staring at Kevin's back, trying to make sure my time was right, And they hadn't really had a rigid drummer like me before. Like I play basically the same thing every single time, and the band has gotten tighter into that. Like everyone knows what to anticipate. Whereas before, with Dave's fucking amazing, but like it was a different kind of a band. So like the band wasn't locking in completely yet. It was just, we're just kind of like figuring our shit out. And yeah, man, it was just fucking stressful that whole tour. I had to learn a lot of songs too. Like we never played the same set list twice. So like
that would throw me off so bad.
Oh, dude, I would get a text in the morning like, "Hey, we're gonna try these 3 songs tonight that I have never heard and don't know, and I have to like speed chart them and get that together." So that first tour was just kind of hanging on for dear life. We did an arena too. That was crazy. We played the Lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey arena in Tampa, and that was fucking crazy. Because I mean, that was like show 10.
Are you playing with a click track or anything?
I do. I've always had click for the first couple songs on any big rock gig I do, just to establish where I am internally. Mm-hmm. Like if I feel like the click is slow, then I know that I'm pushing or I had too much coffee or something, and I can kind of self-adjust based around that. But it's not a click band. It's not a track band. I do click on a couple things just because I'm more comfortable that way, but it's not. Kevin can turn around at any point and tell me to kill it, and it's just next to me. It's not run by somebody. And it's just like 3 or 4 tunes, if that. Some days I just let it ride. Especially the original guitar player Peter Klett just came back, and one of the first shows I had with him, we were on the first tune, Arrow, which is just fucking do do ba do do ba do. And he turns around and he goes, "You want to click?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You fucking pussy!" And turns around. I was like, "Fuck this!" Turn it off.
That's
That's
great.
That's the best thing about that band is it's a goddamn rock band with loud amplifiers. I mean, we just switched to no amps, but like it was just there's nothing else. There's no magic. It's just 5 guys making loud as shit rock and roll on a stage.
Yeah.
Next to all these other bands, everyone's got tracks. And not like I take nothing from that. Like when you're doing when you're Shinedown, like you got to put on a fucking circus. It's like you can't do what we do on that level anymore, but like we get up there and we fucking do it. It's chaos and it looks like chaos. We're spitting on each other and shit. It's in the dirt. I love it.
Well, you were saying that the people what they expect, and people when they they're paying a lot of money for these shows nowadays because of ticket pricing and whatever else, but they want to hear what they're used to hearing in their cars or at home. Or while they're working, if they're listening to music, they don't want to hear a different version of it. They want to hear, the backing vocals or whatever it could be. You got to be kind of true to the form of the music. Nowadays you can't
Absolutely.
just, screw around and, oh, here's, a reggae version of our hit, especially when you're not known for that.
But you can though. That's the thing that like, God, everyone's fucking. My phone is just. It never goes. Like, dude, I don't know what's going on this week, but it's fucking crazy. You can though, and I almost feel like everyone kind of needs to take a step back because we like you tend to lean on tracks and click. It's like, but like you watch a band like the Foo Fighters or something, and like they ain't no fucking click track. They're just playing the song, and they'll play Monkey Wrench like 30 BPM faster than the record, and that's I mean you got to keep it within reason, and that's what I try. That's why I keep a click around. Just so I have like a point of reference to kind of bring things back if it walks too much. But like, I love the fucking, and this is what I love about Kevin, man. Kevin's punk rock, like through and through. He never wanted to be a singer. He was a drummer. He was a drummer in punk rock bands growing up.
Was he really?
Yeah. And he comes from that mentality and he applies it to the stage. And every time we get up there, it's kind of nerve wracking because like, we're just going to do it. And whatever happens, fucking happens. It's like, there's no safety net.
Yeah. Has your kit changed? What you're playing now? Has that changed from your cover band days to playing with Candlebox?
I fucking had the coolest kit ever for cover band stuff. When I was doing acoustic stuff, I had a 28-inch Ludwig marching drum that somebody put bass drum spurs on. It's like a 1930 something. So I used to use that and a fucking 14x9 snare drum and a ride cymbal and a hi-hat. And that was it. And it was like,
really?
It was so fun because you had to like find all the sounds on the thing. So you only got 3, it's like,
yeah.
And like, but now, I mean, when we were doing like regular cover band shows, I think it's basically the same kit. I always had like 1 up, 2 down, floor tom. Sometimes I do a left floor tom. I haven't really changed in that regard. But I've done a couple asshole kits with this band where it was like, I'm gonna do the big rock thing. I used racks and shit. I had a left, never over the top though. If it goes over the bass drum, I don't like your band. But if it goes down the sides, it's cool because you just have less stands. So I did that a couple times. But I mean, the shit I'm hitting is basically stayed the same. I've actually reduced it recently. I used to do like 2 extra cymbals just because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just more shit to set up, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, when I first started, it was my first band was a Journey cover band, so I thought I had to do the big 3 toms and China's facing you, and a cymbal over here that may not ever get hit, and but I set it up.
Yeah.
And then when I got more into playing and got around real musicians, I started stripping down my kit. Now I'm a 1 up, 1 down guy. Couple cymbals and may throw in a China or a splash or something.
Yeah. It is funny once you start gigging how that happens. It's like that hardware bag gets real light real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get tired of lugging all that stuff around.
For sure. Yeah.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about your woodworking. How'd you get into that? Because man, you create some beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that's been fun, man. That's been like even during COVID, like I don't think I necessarily need to play music. I just need to create stuff. As long as I'm making something, something, as long as my creative brain is fully utilized, I'm a happy person. And
you a fidgeter?
Yeah, I just need to know shit. Like I just like to, like if somebody, like it's like if something breaks in my house, I don't call a plumber. I just figure it out.
Yeah.
I've just always been that way. And furniture turned into a nice little thing because I made the first table because I needed a table because I was poor because I'm a drummer. That was like we didn't want to spend money, and I wanted a cool table. So I went out to my grandfather's shop shortly after he died, and I built a table. I did, everyone who makes their first thing goes, look what I did on Facebook, and it was cool enough that somebody ordered a coffee table. They're like, can you make me a thing? And I was like, for how much money? And all of a sudden I had a new job, right? So I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know, but I've always been able to like learn things quick, and just kind of get to the root of the thing. So I just picked it up real fast. I was real natural for woodworking. And people just started ordering shit, man. I would make a thing, then somebody else would order a thing. And I was like, fuck, I think this is the thing. And then like, I don't know, maybe less than a year after I started, literally from my first table, like less than a year later, a restaurant was opening. And my friend Erica was like, hey man, do you want to make the furniture for the restaurant? And it was like a whole restaurant of tables and bar shit and all this random stuff. It was like fucking, I don't know, like 20 grand. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll sort that out. I mean, I didn't make a goddamn penny at the end of the day, but like, because I had no idea how scale worked in that industry, how anything works.
Mm-hmm.
But we did it in that restaurant. Fucking that stuff's all bomb proof. It's like a bunch of metal bases we welded and shit. That was the other thing. I just barely learned how to weld. Now I'm making like table bases like an hour later.
Yeah.
And
so that you said your grandfather's shop, was that where you learned how to do the woodworking?
Yeah, my grandfather George Aubin, my dude, got me started probably like 5 or 6 years before he died. I wanted to make a cajon because I was like, these are just stupid wooden boxes, and I bet I can make that. And I was at Home Depot one day. Wow, another vivid memory I've forgotten about. And I was just looking at like their hardwoods, and I found bird's eye maple mixed in with just like the regular Home Depot stock. And I bought a bunch of it because I was like, that's fucking interesting. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And then I finally figured, I've just settled on making a cajon because I had this cool wood. So I called my grandfather, went over there, told him what I was going to do. And he just kind of walked me through it and taught me how to glue a panel. I didn't know how to everything in wood's a panel, right? You're just gluing edges together, and kind of got me started there. He wasn't super good at it, but he knew enough to get me kind of around the edges, and he had done a bunch of things, and he was a construction guy. So was my dad. So I was always around builders and drummers. I just kind of took, what was I making the cajon? Yeah, so he like walked me through that process, and I kind of designed it with him, and we made it. I never finished that one. I still have it somewhere around here, but that was my first experience making stuff out of wood, and it was cool, and it wasn't hard or complicated. It just kind of like I thought it was super easy. You're basically spending all your money making straight lines.
Yeah. Did you, was it functional? Were you able to get it to work?
That one didn't, but I ended up selling them a couple years later. I was making them, I mean, it was like $150 a piece. I don't think I made any money doing it, but I made a bunch of them. And that was my first kind of march into like pseudo fine woodworking, where I learned about finishing. How in depth do you want to get with woodworking? We can go surface level, or we can go way deep.
Whatever you want to do.
We'll go medium deep. So like,
personally, I think, I just had Mike from SJC Drums on, and we were talking about how his brother got into, them building drums and what they got into. And I was telling him, I've told this story on here before. My dad worked for NASA. He was an engineer. And
your dad worked for NASA?
Yeah, at Cape Canaveral. And
wait, you want to see all my NASA stickers on my fucking I'm a huge aerospace nerd around here.
Yeah, I actually have some. He was on 3 Apollo missions. I've got the mission patches still. But I think that's where I picked up I'm like you. I love to figure things out. And I told Mike, I used to take apart my parents' TV or their stereo when they would go out to eat.
Yeah,
I would, or something. I was left home alone. I was the only child. Man, I would take that thing apart in a minute. They'd come home, and I'd be like right in the middle of like, "Oh, hi, you're home." I'm okay doing woodwork, but I'm more of a mechanical. Give me metal to work with and that sort of thing. Like I learned how to rebuild an engine and things like that. Run a lathe and all that. So I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier about drummers being fidgeters. We like to mess with stuff. We're more mechanical. We love to really, look into drums and how's this bearing edge cut? What, is it a 45? Is it a 30? That sort of thing. Yeah.
Dude, I made a drum. I made myself a snare drum, and that like ruined drums for me because I realized how easy it is to make a drum. And I made a hard one too. I made a stave drum, and I had to build I was already this was a couple of years ago. I was already experienced woodworker. I do all the tools work, but I made it. That's what I use now. That's my main snare, is my fucking homemade stave drum. And like once I demystified that, I was like, every custom drum company is fucking stupid. They're just ordering Keller shells, putting a finish on it, and screwing stuff to it, and that's all you're doing. That's all it is.
Yeah, I remember I had a friend that worked for Pearl Drums, and we used to go up in Nashville, and I used to go up there for Summer NAMM, and I remember when it came out that DW used Keller shells, and it was such a scandal because it wasn't proprietary. It was just they were buying them off the rack, sort of thing. And then you had companies like Pearl who actually makes their own shells, and they have the steam presses and all that sort of stuff. Mike was telling me that when he and his brother started, that's what they did. They bought Keller shells, and then they started making their own. So what is your snare drum made out of? What's the wood you used on it?
Well, I did a couple. The one I'm using now is a Sapelli. It's like a mahogany substitute. And because I've always liked mahogany on things that are loud, right? It kind of like dampens just enough. It's not like maple's like fucking like a gunshot. So like I've always used maple kicks, maple toms and stuff, but I've always gravitated towards mahogany snares. So I use that for that, and it's a 14 by I think almost 8. I didn't go precise because I didn't care. I was just like, whatever it is what it's going to be, And I stole. I used to have a endorsement with a company called Mapeworks that was cool here in Maryland, and I have one of their snares. Actually, it's the shell's sitting right over there right now, and I just took all the hardware off and I just measured where it was on that drum and just did that same thing with the other drum and just put it together, and then I hit it and it sounded great, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. Like the drums are stupid. I didn't do anything. I didn't put finish on it. I mean, I put like one layer of oil on it. I didn't have a little vent thing, so I just drilled a hole somewhere, and it was fine. It sounded fucking great.
Yeah. I remember when that mystique got broken for me. I was just like, seriously? My grandfather also was a woodworker, and I just remember thinking, God, I wish he was alive. I would love for him to make a kit for me, because I know he would find a way. Have you thought about producing drums, like a whole set?
No, man.
For yourself or for others?
I thought I'd make one for myself, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, they're just circles. I mean, I'm like, the things that I'm picky about are the hardware that goes on, but the wooden part is almost fucking irrelevant. You know, like, if you know how to tune a drum and you know how to strike a drum, pretty much any drum is going to sound pretty good. You know, like, so I thought about pricing out the whole thing and doing the whole thing, and it's like, I'd be more massaging my ego than I would be making a drum set. So, like, just having the one, like, the core thing that I can carry around with me that I know is like mine, you know, like, just the snare drum has been cool, and I've never really aspired to make any more. Like, I've got a couple shells that are just incomplete in the shop right now that I made and just got bored and didn't finish. You know?
So so somebody came to you and said, "Hey, can you make me a snare like yours?" Would you do it or no?
Yeah, actually, I had somebody do that. There's just not enough money in. This is a point I was going to make a second ago. I found this with furniture too. Like, there's like 3 levels to manufacturing. There's boutique, which is tiny. You get a single customer, you make a single thing, you send it out. There's the middle, which is like you're doing, which I was trying to do with furniture. I was getting like, you know, I made like 600 bar stools, that kind of a thing. Like, big numbers for me, small numbers for Walmart. And then there's, you know, IKEA, you know, where they're making cajillions of things. And I found the middle market of that is just not, you can't survive there. And like, furniture has a big enough margin where it's like you're essentially selling a story as a boutique furniture maker. And I can charge a couple $1,000s for a thing that's going to be cool. You're gonna have it your whole life. You can give it to your kids. But like with drums, there's just not enough. There's not enough money there. If somebody asked me, like, if you asked me to make you a snare drum, I would just give you a snare drum, because that's cooler to me than, you know, the $400 or whatever that it would cost to make it. Because it's never going to be worth it. You know, like, what's a day of my time worth? It's probably going to take me 3 days to make that snare drum, and then, you know, I'm not going to charge you $1,500 for a snare drum, though. That's ridiculous. You can buy a snare drum right now for $300. It'll be just fine forever.
Yeah.
So, like, the instrument thing, I made a guitar too, just to see if I could. And I put the strings on, and it sounded great and played great. And I was like, this is stupid too. It's like, as long as you got a CNC machine, there's basically no skill involved. You just screw the things together, and somebody who's good sets it up, then you're off.
Yeah. Did you make a table that had acrylic and wood in it with a live edge or something?
Yeah.
Did you do that recently?
What was the one I just did? Oh, I made a yeah, that was for a very nice lady's church. That was a pain in the ass, actually. That was like the wooden like cookie thing, right? Like a little slab of tree kind of looking thing.
Yeah, yeah. Did you did the acrylic where it's part acrylic and wood? Did you do that?
Yeah, it's epoxy. Yep.
Epoxy. I'm sorry. How did you get into that? Just went for it one day?
Yeah, I've done a million. Like, once you get into woodworking, somebody's immediately going to order a river table, and like, you're not going to charge enough. You're going to lose your ass, which is what happened to me like 4 times before. I was like, if you want epoxy, it's an extra $1,000 or whatever, because that stuff is a pain in the dick, man. Because if you have a leak, you basically have to make a mold, right? So you got to figure out where it's going to go, and you have to build a melamine mold around it, essentially, and then caulk the whole thing in, because you're making a bathtub for liquid plastic to be poured into. And if you fuck that up, epoxy is expensive. It's like $100 a gallon. And if you're doing a river table, you're like,
is it really
4 or 5 gallons? Oh yeah, easy. And it just goes on the floor and it's gone. And there's nothing. Once it starts leaking too, it's like, oh fuck. And if it's started to cure, like, you're just fucked. And if it starts to cure and then it leaks, then the whole table's fucked. You got to get the slab again. Like, you got to start completely over. So that stuff is a nightmare. I mean, it's cool to see when it's done sometimes, but usually it's just horrible.
All right,
that
dude,
one though. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, you're good.
So you got, well, I don't want to keep you much longer. Although I think you and I could probably have a beer and talk all day.
I don't give a shit.
You got a pretty big gig coming up in September.
Yeah, the Who, man. That's gonna
How
be.
you feel about that?
I don't know. It's one of those. I was just saying this yesterday too. Is like, things like that, like unicorn gigs is basically what that is. Like, when they come up, they're not real until you're on the airplane, you know? So like, until I'm heading to that gig with musical instruments, like, it's not going to be real, but it's wild to be like, I'm just so happy for Kevin, because Kevin fucking loves that band, and the bands that they chose to open for them on that, they chose. So like, they chose Candlebox to open three of the shows on their farewell tour. Like we get to help close the Who's career. You know, it's like,
isn't that crazy?
What a crazy honor, you know? And like, I mean, I think about it from Kevin's perspective, writing these songs when he was like 21 or whatever. And like, you're 32 years later, like you get that bestowed upon you, you know? It's like, right. What a cool thing. And for me, it's just crazy to be there. You know, everything I do with this band is like, cool. I don't know why I'm here. Cause like anybody fucking, you know, I'm just like a normal dude from Baltimore. I wasn't a rock star. I wasn't in some big band. I didn't play arenas, and I got this gig, you know, just by being in the right place at the right time. So for me, I'm just happy to be there, you know, pretty much anything with this band. I'm just happy to be there.
Right. Yeah. I was reading, I went back before you signed in today. I was looking at some of the stuff about Candlebox, and it hit me. It's like 30 years. I'm like, good God, really?
Yeah.
You know, 30 years.
I ask Kevin too all the time, like, what's it like? Like, I remember songs that I wrote when I was like in my 20s or whatever, you know, and like those thoughts are so irrelevant to me now. And like to have to go back and like dig in when you're 50 years old and sing your 21-year-old thoughts again. And like, I don't know, man, it's got to be a thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and plus, you know, with a legendary band like that. I'm a big Who fan also. I couldn't imagine. I saw them in the Astrodome years ago. When I forgot which. Is the shit? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember which tour it was. But yeah, it was amazing. Astrodome sounded horrible.
Dude. All the arenas sound terrible.
Yeah, for all the bands and stuff. Well, man. Thanks for coming on.
Of course, this is fucking awesome.
I know we've been like going back and forth, you know, Mr. Busy Rockstar man over here. You know?
Mr. 2 gigs this year Rockstar.
It's more than I've got.
Right,
you know?
right.
So, I mean, I can't complain. You know. So, well, Beej, thanks for coming on. Stick around for a minute. I'm just going to say thanks for Drumheads Podcast. Close it out.
Happy to be
Call
here.
it a day. All right, man.